Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Let's call the October 2021 meeting of the Arts and Culture Commission to order. First item is to approve the agenda. Does anyone have any items that they would like to add to the agenda? If not, can I get a motion to approve the order of the agenda?
So moved.
Oh,
Second.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The next item is to approve the minutes of the July 21st, 2021 meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, the next item is public comment. Those who wish to address the Arts and Culture Commission must use the sign-in sheet. Speakers, please state your name and you will be limited to 3 minutes. Comments should not contain profanity or any personal attacks, please. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment? Mr. Cohen?
I didn't use a sign, where's the sign sheet?
Well, apparently I'm going to be allowed to comment when we talk about the conflict of interest. So is that true or not?
Correct.
Maybe I'll just use this time then just to give a definition of it so that maybe we can, in case everyone, I found a good definition for it, so I'll just read it here. And a conflict of interest is a situation in which a person or organization is involved in multiple interests, financial or otherwise, and serving one interest could involve working against another. The existence of such conflicts is an objective fact, not a state of mind, and does not in itself indicate any lapse or moral error. The presence of a conflict of interest is independent of the occurrence of inappropriateness. Therefore, a conflict of interest can be discovered and voluntarily diffused before any corruption occurs. So I brought it up because I noticed, sitting out here in the audience, I did notice that when there's a vote for funds to TAP, that I knew one of the board members had received a TAP grant. And so at least there's the appearance of receiving money from the TAP organization with one hand and then giving city money back to them with the other hand. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be actual inappropriateness occurring. There's a problem with appearance at the very least. And so what it does, it did actually make me think twice, what exactly is going on, but why I brought up the subject of conflict of interest is because it's something that could protect the reputation of the ACC and the city itself. I mean, that's why bodies adopt these conflict of interest policies. And let me see. Second, furthermore, I'm having a brain fog right now, but I understand. I talked to the director of planning who disagreed from the moment I mentioned it. And got the city attorney involved, but I will talk about that later when it's brought up. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next item is for subcommittee updates and to discuss the suggested work plan. Would each subcommittee leader like to give the commission any updates since the last meeting? Can we start with the neighborhood group?
Sure. I had my notes right out here in front of me. I have no idea where they went. We have been working with the Fargo School District. Here we go. And so far, we're working with the, oh boy, this is going to be tough. I'm losing words. Okay, so what we've got so far is we are working with the,
Fargo School District.
no, what kind of art?
Oh, visual art?
Visual art, thank you. We're working with the curriculum creator for visual art at present. I have reached out to the curriculum creator for
Visual art.
another one. I'm sorry. A chemo brain is real.
Arts Department?
Yeah, there's two curriculum creators, and one hasn't gotten back to me and the other one has, and she's working with us. So anyway, so we have created for her, at her request, a grant form, and each school that is interested is going to complete this grant form and then submit their project to the school district, the Sharon, and they will select, that's what we're thinking at this point, is that they will select the art projects. She is thinking she's going to get participation from 3 elementary schools, 1 middle school, and 1 high school. And the work that is completed will be converted to a vinyl decal next spring and will be installed somewhere in that school's neighborhood. We're working with them in terms of budget, if they need to have funds for gratuity, for bringing in a visiting artist, or for supplies. We want to help them with that. And then, of course, we'll be covering the cost of the utility box wrap. They're pretty excited about this, and we're really excited to be working with them and get this moving forward. Does anybody have questions about this?
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah. Well, my report was less than, but thank you. The project is, yes.
You did fantastic.
Oh,
Thank you.
the other thing, I'm sorry, there is one other thing, is that at the end of this, we are going to be working with them to curate some kind of a show for all of the students' art, so that we could have maybe like a little reception, have a little, we don't know when, we don't know where, any of that kind of stuff, but that is something that we're also going to be looking for.
Oh, fun. Fantastic. Thank you. Capacity building? Oh, Joe?
There is no updates, unless there's something, the gentleman wish to share.
Moving forward with the Arts for the Holidays event.
Okay.
And we do have that on the agenda later to discuss. Okay, and then I can do just a quick update on the development committee. I did meet with a couple different developers a little while back and heard really great and positive response about wanting to try to find ways that they can work on some projects with the city regarding public art. But there was one common theme that was present that we wanted to explore a bit. And so we've reached out to Commissioner Strand and Commissioner Arlette Preston to try to just put a meeting together to kind of deep dive a bit into it. And the conversation's really about developers understanding trust with the city and really deepening that level of trust. They just aren't sure how this could look and work and move forward. And I think they're nervous. And as our subcommittee met about that, if you look at it through the artist's perspective as well, I think there's a lot of the same concerns on the other side of the conversation. And so we just wanted to really take that conversation to a deeper level and bring it forward to some of the commissioners and kind of get that, I don't know exactly the right term to say, but we just want to have a conversation with the city so that we can really understand where that can go. And that way we can move forward in those conversations with additional developers and artists. So that's our next step. So Deb, I said that way more ineloquently than how you presented your committee.
She found your words, so that was.
All right. Let's go on to the project updates. I don't think I missed anything. Nope. Nicole, do you want to speak about items A and B? And then John, we'll have you follow up with if you have any updates on the art for the holidays.
Yes, thanks, Chair. And then real quick, maybe to add to the capacity working group a little bit, we've been having some communications on the call for artists. I did send an email out. I'm not sure if you all got it. We just discovered an email issue we had with Mr. Bachmeyer. And so there might be some stuff going on technologically, but we are in process of developing a technical assistance contract with the Arts Partnership to help us with the call for artists. But meanwhile, for Mr. Bachmeyer, Mr. Offit, and Mr. Williams, I have some communications for you. If you could audit those or review those at your capacity. If you don't have the capacity, that's quite all right. And then that leads me into maybe Project 5A, the Kresge project. One of the steps we're trying to do there is, so I have an update for you on that in relation to timelines and next steps. So I know several of you volunteer to be on a subcommittee or to help be an advisory team for community artists and staff. And working with our project manager and with the foundation in terms of offering this grant, we have some more seed work we need to do to kind of build that knowledge base and reception inside City Hall and make sure we have our timelines and calendars kind of coordinated well so we can kind of truth test it, if you will. What we don't want to do, I'll tell you what we don't want to do and what we're trying to backtrack is do a call for artists or also start in this neighborhood artists collaboration and have unrealistic expectations to put either the artist in a box for timelines and constraints or vice versa. So we're kind of truth testing some internal coordination and communication so we make sure we don't have those barriers in place that could come up. So working with project manager and city staff so that's what's taking a little bit extra time to get it off and running. And so I'll have more information for the board members, hopefully in the next 3 to 4 weeks as it relates to some updated timelines on the project, some next steps, and where we hope to go from there. So look for some email communication from me on that. We also are working with the Kresge Foundation to get another extension, because we want to do it right. We don't want to have people feel rushed and things like that. We've all been there, done that. We don't necessarily need to do that again. So I'm also going to sneak in a quick presentation and introduce Robin from Public Health. One of the activities that happened over the last month is Public Health took on a mural project, and so Robin's going to quick introduce that to you.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Nicole, and good evening, Madam Chair and Commission members. I'm going to talk to you today about the International Overdose Awareness Day mural. My objectives today for a short presentation will be to define International Overdose Awareness Day for you, examine the problem of overdose in our community, reveal the mural's host, list local activities for IOAD 2021, share features of the mural and introduce its artist, as well as show photos and media coverage of the mural. So International Overdose Awareness Day is a global event that is held on August 31st each year to raise awareness of overdose and reduce the stigma of drug-related death. And I'm going to share with you the problem of overdose in our nation, in our state, and in our community. This is a look at the increases that we saw in overdose deaths from 2019 to 2020. Preliminarily, the U.S. reported a 32% increase. Minnesota reported a 27% increase. North Dakota, a 49% increase. And Cass County, a 55% increase. This is a look at all drug-related deaths, excluding alcohol, in Cass County. And as you can see, in 2020, we had 59 drug-related deaths. And as of about a month ago, we had 38. So what is the Harm Reduction Center? The Harm Reduction Center is where the mural was placed. It is a building of Fargo-Cass Public Health, and it houses Fargo-Cass Public Health's Harm Reduction Division programs and activities. And importantly, this site provides overdose prevention and response education to persons who use drugs, as well as distributes naloxone or Narcan, which is an antidote to opioid overdose, and trains people to administer it. At our center alone, we had 281 reported opioid overdose deaths just in the first 6 months of this year, using Narcan or naloxone that was distributed at our harm reduction center. So our harm reduction center is very vital, and its participants are very vital in fighting or preventing and reversing opioid overdose and saving lives in our community. This is a picture of the front of the building. It faces north. And if you can see in the background, that is the train depot. And then to the left side there, you will see the Ford building. So that is where the Harm Reduction Center is located. It's at 510 5th Street North. So some of the activities that we did for International Overdose Awareness Day in 2021 included a lot of social media. We had a mayoral proclamation. City Hall was illuminated purple. We also had purple lawn flags for each victim of overdose death in Cass County. We had the mural at the Harm Reduction Center. We did a news release, and we received a lot of favorable media coverage. So this is a look at the mural. This is located on the south of the Harm Reduction Center building. And some of its features include a slogan for International Overdose Awareness Day, time to remember, time to act. It includes the purple overdose awareness ribbon. The wings symbolize angels. The butterflies symbolize those who've passed from overdose. There's also the International Overdose Awareness Day 2021 stamp on the left side, as well as the artist's signature on the right. The artist was Kim Jory. She donated the mural. She also was the artist for the City of Fargo's Bison statue, which is titled Diversity. She also created a 9/11 FDNY firefighter memorial here in Fargo. She has many other art displays throughout North Dakota and Minnesota. And importantly, she helps people with addiction through her use of therapeutic art with them. So this is a picture of her as she was working on the mural. Here is the media, a couple of examples of the media coverage that we received. We were featured on the front page of the Forum on September 1st, 2021. There's a picture there. And there was also a great WDAY news story. And I'll see if I can play that here quickly for you.
Hi, I'm Val Demings. I'm running for Senate to defeat Marco Rubio.
Shoot.
And if you care at all about passing voting rights or
Okay, I'll skip that. It is on the Inform if you do want to take a look at it. The title of it was North Dakota and Minnesota have increased overdose rates. All right, and so lastly, I just want to leave my contact information in case you need any more information, open it up for questions. And then if you wanted to check out the social media that we did for International Overdose Awareness Day, which prominently features the mural, you can check out any one of our social media channels listed there as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments? All right, thank you very much.
Thanks again.
So yeah, thanks to Robin and the Public Health Department for taking that project on. I will say it's a great example too of what this committee talks about with our department is processes and procedures as we empower more art in our community. And as an example of this project came together very quickly. And in terms of permissions and processes, we had some internal communications and they were concerned about what the Arts and Culture Commission would, what kind of approvals they needed. And, in quick and quick forward-thinking processes. I said, do it. They're not asking for money. They weren't asking for anything, really. And so it was more, I knew you would like to be informed about it. The public would like to be informed about it. And so as a way to build that communication process, I just asked for that presentation and updates and photos so we can document it. And so, but I think it's a wonderful community project that we would love to embrace more of. Along those lines, in terms of the Greetings from Fargo mural that's over by Orange Records, similarly, again, that was all, community downtown neighborhood association directed. They didn't need permits or anything like that. It was, the city was invited as part of an open house. And then through that conversation realized due to logistics, they were short on the sealant, and the sealant is a fairly low-cost item. And so we were able to procure the sealant for them and hire a contractor. There's a back order of sealant. There's a lot of logistical issues. And so, again, so the Arts and Culture Commission and the City of Fargo were able to participate that way with some of the logistical final steps. So, again, as we think about processes and procedures and how Arts and Culture Commission interacts with the community and the public and other departments, these are just all good examples. So I'll continue to bring those forward as I hear about them. A lot of times it's just a communication network, and stuff moves pretty fast. So, speaking of which, the next item, the City Hall curating. We did get a proposal from and working with Arts Partnership to be part of the Artworks program, the curating program. It's the same program that's at a couple of the local banks, as well as the Airport Authority, or the airport, Fargo Hector Airport. And so we're excited about that, and started working with our facilities team. And on the first floor down here at City Hall, we'll start hopefully a project or an installation in November, December. We're aiming for November. And then we will also be part of that network and outreach as part of the public relations and communications. That would be a quarterly transition with commentary and notes and displays and information about the artists and the artworks, and similar to that you see like at some other locations around town. So we're excited to be part of that program, and we'll be bringing that program back to the city. I think on item 5C, we were hoping, John, I didn't get a chance to communicate with you before the meeting, but if you had any updates on that, if not, just a general announcement on the dates again and reminders.
The date will be December 11th, the second Saturday of December. Naomi Schleichman from Fergus Falls served as our juror, and we've accepted 40 artists to participate. We're still after organizations for around the perimeter of the Civic. Otherwise, it's moving forward.
Yay. Awesome.
Great.
Thanks for doing that, John. All right, Nicole, do you want to provide us with some staffing updates?
Yeah, so we are excited to welcome Megan Elshog back. You might see her in the audience. And so we won't go into the details, but she started back in about a week and a half ago. And so I just want to let everybody know that if you see emails from her, she is back on the Fargo team. It's a very small planning community in North Dakota. Yeah, so that was my brief staff update there. And then my next item, Mr. Cohen alluded to, you will see a memo that was distributed to you here. You don't necessarily need to read it right now. I know it's a few pages. We encourage you to take that with you, and we can email you a hard copy as well, and we'll post it online with the packet. And in September, I had reached out based on Mr. Cohen's comments, and I think a public comment earlier in the year, where I asked the city attorney for an opinion on conflict of interest, in particular to the relationship with the Arts Partnership and fellow board members or board members who might be members of the Arts Partnership or their organizations might be members of the Arts Partnership. So you'll see in your packet or your kind of lay down item, comment from the city attorney. I'm losing my words as well. An opinion. Thank you. An opinion of the city attorney. In it, he references a City of Fargo previous opinion that he did for the Planning Commission, and as well as a more recent opinion specifically about nonprofits from the general attorney. And so, and there are two representatives. I would encourage you, if you have comments or questions about this, to reach out to Mr. Johnson directly or to me offline, that I can refer you to the city attorney. I am not an attorney, and so, as you might know that. And so, not to make light of it, but I think Mr. Cohen does bring up a good question that we've had in the past, and so I thought it was good to get this documented. And Mr. Cohen is here, might have some comments or questions for you as well.
Okay. Mr. Cohen, would you like to say anything further?
Well, I only got these, he made these, he sent this document to planning back in September, but Nicole only just sent this to me about an hour and a half ago. So I haven't had much time to even look at it. I mean, I didn't even have any time to read any of the cases that he sent. So I'm pretty much caught off guard. But it talks about an ACC board member does not, he says an ACC board member does not benefit in any substantial or direct way by this allocation of grant funds. I'm not sure which grant funds he's talking about. I think he's talking about grant funds to one of the organizations that one of the board members here is a board member of, but I think he got wrong information. I think Nicole fed the city attorney all the information she could to try to get a particular opinion from the city attorney, and she didn't really give him all the information. What I was talking about is that one of the board members here directly got a TAP grant this year, and maybe got one last year, or the year before, I don't know. Maybe other board members have received them. I don't know. I didn't do the research. And the city attorney doesn't talk about any of that. So as to what is the definition of substantial personal or pecuniary interest, I don't know, but the grant was several thousand, I think. A couple thousand at least. I mean, to me, it's substantial, but I don't know what the legal definition of it, and I didn't have a chance to read those cases. I mean, so, in fairness to the subject and in fairness to the ACC, if you want to look at this seriously, I think I should have been involved in the conversation to the city attorney and not just Nicole. And tried to get into the conversation, but was kept out. But I would have asked him, could you research the appearance of conflict of interest in North Dakota law? And let's see what are the cases on that. So we don't know, because that question wasn't asked. And that's really important here, because it's just what the public perceives. So, when I was sitting here in the audience, I knew that one of the board members just got a grant directly from TAP this year and then voted for funds for TAP this year. So what I was thinking of as a conflict of interest is, what if that board member, like next year, thinks, I don't think it's a good idea to give TAP this much money. It's not in the city's interest. But then thinks, oh, if I don't give them their money, I might not get a grant. So there right there would be a potential conflict of interest. So that's what, and by the way, if it is a direct, substantial personal or pecuniary interest, this board member was supposed to disclose it to the rest of you. And you're allowed to, if they disclose it, you're allowed to, with a majority of vote, with the majority of your vote, let that person vote for the grants to tap anyways, but I wouldn't, because it's not gonna make the ACC look good. So I think you want the person to recuse themselves in such an instance, because you want to think about public opinion and the appearances.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
Thank you.
Is there any other business?
I'd be glad to speak to a few things, maybe just for the public
Sure.
if they're listening. I do believe we're talking about the same thing. And so just for transparency's sake, because I think everybody can agree that we want as much transparency as humanly possible. And so annually, probably for a good, I'm going to estimate a couple decades, the city of Fargo has had a relationship with what used to be the Lake Agassiz Regional Arts Council and now the Arts Partnership. The Arts Partnership does a Tri-City Grants program in which the city of Fargo is a contributor to the City of Art, the city Tri-City Arts Program. Of those monies, they keep a small percentage for overhead, and the rest goes out to grant applicants. Eligibility for those grant applications are organizational only. They're not individual artists. And so the potential of the conflict, if you might be an employee of organization XYZ, that organization applies for a grant, and in the neighborhood of, I'm just going to estimate, $3 to $5 grand, maybe smaller. And so I think the question at hand is that a conflict of interest if the board member is on the Arts and Culture Commission? It's the city commission that decides on the allocation of the monies to the Arts Partnership. But meanwhile, we are also having a conversation that I think we had in July about contracting with the expertise of the Arts Partnership to help us with technical projects, such as the curating. And so I think whenever the Arts Partnership is mentioned, that might allude to some potential conflict because we're talking about them in different capacities. So in summary, that is, I believe, the dialogue that I've had with the city attorney's office. Again, the city attorney is available to speak to this upon anybody's request, and I'll pass your contact information, Mr. Cohen, to the city attorney. But in any case, that I believe that's the question at hand.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Or
I will say real quick too, sorry, the memo does speak to, I'm reminded of this as well. If ever you feel you might have a conflict of interest, and first of all, there is a definitive difference between appearance and the law. But certainly appearance could affect ethics and perception as well. And so whenever in doubt, you again could also reach out to the city attorney as well as disclose that publicly as upon a vote and say, I appear to have a conflict of interest. The board will ask you to disclose what that is, and then they will actually vote. You ask for them to vote to concur on that conflict. So that might be a situation, we've had this in the past, it's been far in the future, but far in the past, where there's not actually a conflict of interest, but the person feels like it is, and or takes advantage of the fact of that and refuses to make a hard decision as part of the vote and uses that as convenience. And so you have to remember, you are appointed, you have an oath that you sign, and we have a code of ethics on as part of the city of Fargo. So anytime you want to talk about those kinds of things, our city attorney and our assistant city attorney, Nancy Morris, I'm more than available to provide an overview of that.
Perfect, thank you. Questions?
I just want to ask a clarifying question, just to make sure I heard correctly and that I'm thinking about it in the right context. So the situation we're talking about is not individual artists applying for individual artist dollars through TAP. we're talking about a separate grant pool that's specific to organizations.
It's the Tri-City Arts Grant. Is that what you call it? City Arts Partnership Grant.
But is that exclusive? You know, I know there's different pots of money and different application
Yeah, it's
process,
exclusive to the City of Fargo funds that are going to that.
and that's going specifically to organizations, not individuals.
So that is just going to organizations.
So in this case, it would be, the concern would be individuals on the commission who work for organizations who are applying for money under that umbrella or pot.
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure it's not individuals we're talking about, but it's organizations applying. Okay.
I'd also say it's, there's qualifying questions. These are my words, not city attorney, so he might not, you might want to validate this against him. But when we talk about substantial, I know Mr. Cohen brought that up, is someone losing their job over this? Is someone, making their annual income based on this? Is this influencing their power of decision and livelihood? And these are all my words, so not legally binding by any means, but those are the kind of qualifying things we think about. So often you might have, say, a engineer, employee of an engineering company sit on the planning commission. That planning commission might be reviewing plats or applications on behalf of that the engineering company did. That person does not need to recuse themselves unless they're the owner of the company or they're principal owner of the company. So if you're a staff drafter happening to be sitting on the planning commission, technically that's not a conflict of interest. But to confirm that, you offer that information up and the board decides.
Other questions?
So I'll add, I appreciate the background and the additional information. I also appreciate the public comments on this issue and, the concern about the perception for this commission, right? And so I would just reserve, I'd like to read this information and
Absolutely.
understand it. And then, obviously we can revisit this issue with more background, but thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up, Ms. Kolpak, because I was going to suggest, I know you're just getting this live. I know Mr. Cohen maybe got it 30 minutes before you did. And so I know this is all fresh information. And so we'd be more than glad to bring this up as a topic of discussion for next month. And I can invite the city attorney in person if you'd like to explore it further.
Sure, thank you.
Any other questions?
Not regarding that topic, but one other thing,
You bet.
yeah, Nicole, in regards to the capacity working group and the documents that you sent to us, I did receive them, and so that email was working fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we found out there was another little glitch later, but so in regards to the documents that we received, and I think there were perhaps 6 or 8 of them for our working group to, audit, go through, wordsmith, consider. I think individually we've begun that work, and it'll just be a matter of our committee kind of getting together and checking our edits before we kind of report back about that next time.
Absolutely. And I will offer my time or, Megan's time if you'd like us to visit your subcommittee or talk through those with you as a group. We're more than glad to do that. So.
Fantastic. All right, is there any other business?
Madam Chair, if I could just, a future agenda item, and perhaps you're already addressing this, but your commission has a new avenue of public funding this next year from the city for public art, and I'm not sure your timeline for addressing and approaching that topic, but I look forward to seeing you all put your fingerprints on that and have a really major impact on the city. We're talking about $315,000 as a pilot study for public funds. So just so I'm hoping and looking forward to the eagerness in the room and the enthusiasm to embrace this so proactively, so when next year hits, we hit with a bang.
That was the best additional. Thank you, Commissioner Sharon. That was fantastic. I think very well received. And we take on the challenge. Any other new business? Not that anyone wants to go after that one. All right, hearing none, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.